Good morning. Welcome to the special forum for candidates for the office of President of the 8th Legislative Council. The two candidates, Mr. Ronick Chan and Dr. Starry Lee, have already been seated based on the result of a draw conducted in advance. I'd like to remind you that this forum will be broadcast live on the LegCo website. Please set your mobile phones to silent mode and please turn off all alert devices. The procedure for today's special forum are set out in Appendix 1 of the House Rules. According to the House Rules, the member who has the longest continuous service has to preside over this forum. Since Dr. Starry Lee, who has the longest continuous service, is nominated to be the president, today's forum will have to be presided over by a member who is not nominated and has the highest precedence. That is me. I'd like to tell you that before the close of the nomination period, the LegCo Secretariat has in total received 2 valid nominations. According to the order of the receipt of nomination, Mr. Ronick Chan will go first, followed by Dr. Starry Lee. I'll now tell members about the arrangement of this forum. First of all, the purpose of this forum is to give a chance to the candidates to present their election forms and answer members' questions. I will, based on the order of the receipt of the nomination forms, invite the 2 candidates to speak. Each of them will have 5 minutes. After that, I will ask members to put questions to the candidates. The candidate speech and the questions put by members must comply with the requirements set out in Appendix 1 of the House Rules. That means you cannot make any offensive or insulting remarks. You can also not impute any improper motives on other members, and each member has to be precise and to the point, and each member can only ask 1 question. I have decided that I will follow the past practice. If you would like to put questions, I will invite you to press the request to speak button, and based on the order to speak displayed on the system, I will invite each member to speak one by one. Each member will have 5 minutes to speak, including questions and answers. And each time you can only raise 1 question. You may ask one of the candidates or both candidates to reply to your question. Please try not to put your questions for longer than 1 minute, in order to ensure that each candidate will have a fair chance and more or less the same amount of time to reply to your questions. Each candidate has agreed that their reply will not exceed 2 minutes. If the time is up, we will remind you with our alert device. So you will have to stop when you hear the device. If you have time left, you may put another question or follow-up questions that's relevant. Are we all clear? All right. Candidates will take turns to answer members' questions. For example, if the first round is responded by Mr. Ronick Chan, then the second round will be replied by Dr. Starry Lee, and the third round will be answered by Mr. Ronick Chan, and this is to ensure fairness. If, like I said, the member who put questions only want 1 candidate to answer questions, and if the other candidate would also like to respond to that question, the candidate may indicate that to me, and I would allow that candidate to respond to that question. Now, according to the House Rules, the forum should not exceed 2 hours, so this forum will finish no later than 11:30 a.m. I hope that all candidates and members will make good use of the time. And when candidates respond to the questions, please be concise and to the point so that more members will have the chance to put questions. I will now invite the 2 candidates to speak based on their order. After they have spoken, I will ask the secretary to activate the queuing system, so no need to press the button now. If you're ready, Mr. Ronick Chen, please speak. Fellow members, fellow citizens, good morning. About 9 years ago, I was new to the Legislative Council. I wanted to serve citizens, serve Hong Kong, and serve the country. Over the past few months and past 2 terms, the work of this council was my top priority. I gave my full dedication to my work, and you could witness my effort. I chaired the FC for 7 years, and I also chaired the PAC meetings, and I was the chairman of 15 bills committees. I had accumulated very rich experience of chairing meetings. I had not been a House Committee chairman. I had not chaired any LegCo Council meetings, but I took part in the work of the rules of procedures in the 6th term. And over the past 3 years, I had accumulated experience in the work of the LegCo Commission. With the aspiration to serve Hong Kong, I decided to run the presidency. LegCo is an important part of the governance of Hong Kong. If I get elected, I will give my full dedication to preside over all LegCo meetings, as well as LegCo Commission meetings, to enhance the efficiency of the work of the Secretariat, to provide my support to LegCo, and to maintain the reputation of LegCo. And together with all members of LegCo, I will give my full dedication to ensure the prosperity of Hong Kong and serve the citizens of Hong Kong. I will uphold the 3 no's and the expectations. That is, I will uphold the right for members to speak, like the style of the previous FC meeting chairing. I will not take part in any voting or interfere with any policies. Apart from ensuring the work of LegCo Commission and maintaining close ties with all blocs and political parties, I would open up new communication channels that include regularly meeting with different blocs and political parties. I will listen to members' views to ensure that the operation of LegCo conducted in the interests of everyone. I am happy to work with all newly elected members. I believe that we all would like to start work on the Tai Po fire. It is a tragedy, and LegCo will have to enact legislation and approve relevant funding proposals in order to take forward the matter urgently. Once I get elected, I will give special treatment to this issue. Hong Kong will have to maintain ties with the international world. I think the LegCo president will have to make good use of the liaison group of LegCo and to actively tell good stories of Hong Kong to the international world and to China, to display the unique advantages of Hong Kong under one country, 2 systems. This is an important mission. At the same time, I will make good use of the communication channels with the executive to deepen policy implementation work and to facilitate the communication between the executive and the legislature to make good use of the existing mechanism. The LegCo exists because we want to serve the citizens. We have to ensure that we are an effective platform to reflect people's views. I would study how to expand the channels for the public to take part in the LegCo work. For example, we will hold more public activities so that people from all walks of life, including young people as well as the elderly, could closely interact with LegCo members. This LegCo term has brought together patriots as well as those who would like to serve Hong Kong. I believe that we will all work together to enhance governance efficacy, and together with the government, we can open up a new chapter. As a person at my age, I have experienced changes of Hong Kong at different stages. I understand my responsibility. I'm not young anymore. I would like to make use of the experience I have accumulated to contribute to Hong Kong. I would abide by the original aspiration why I would like to join the LegCo, and I would contribute my effort. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ronald Chen. I'll invite Dr. Starry Lee to speak now. Fellow citizens, fellow members, good morning. I have 17 years of experience serving the LegCo, and I have 9 years of chairing the House Committee. I experienced a time when Hong Kong moved from stability to prosperity, and I have chaired all these meetings, and that's why I have the confidence to ask for your support to become the president of the new LegCo term so that we can work together, work hand in hand to enhance the efficiency of LegCo. If I get elected, I will, at 3 different levels, work with all of you. First, at the national level, I will ensure that LegCo can better integrate into the national development and better serve our country. We are in the preliminary phase of the 15th five-year plan. We have to more proactively align with our national strategies. As an CPC member, I will ensure that our policies align with our country's policies so that we can open up a wider door for Hong Kong. At the domestic level, I will uphold the executive-led system to ensure that there are closer communications between the executive and the legislature. At the LegCo, I will fairly and impartially preside over meetings and respect everyone's right to speak so that members can voice their opinions and raise questions on government's work and ensure that there is deliberation on public policies. The new LegCo term has to work with the government and provide constructive advice to help enhance government's policies. As the president, I would be the gatekeeper. I will ensure that the government will submit the documents to ensure there is enough time for members to scrutinize the papers. And I will ensure that government officials will work with LegCo and that there will be checks and balances. Outside LegCo, I will invite different policy bureaus to report to members on the policies at different stages so that government will have the chance to take on board members' views. On facilitating communication, I will study the possibility of allowing cooperation and collaboration among different political blocs in the LegCo to show to the public that we are pragmatically taking forward the matters. Thirdly, I will ensure that LegCo members can give full play to their strength. I will ask the Secretariat to study the possibility of opening up a department to deal with complaints and research so that the complaint departments as well as the research division can better support the public. For newly elected members, I will try to understand their needs to give my best to offer my support to you so that each member can, through the LegCo platform, give full play to their strengths, and together we can pragmatically build a new image for LegCo. We have already entered into a new stage in the face of complex international landscape as well as geopolitical tensions. We need to have someone who can firmly cope with different challenges and changes to be the LegCo president. I come from the DAB, and this is my background. When I was the chair of the House Committee and when I am the CPC member, I have been dealing with all matters and chairing all meetings impartially and fairly. I've been supporting members from different political parties and blocs. For example, in terms of improving grassroots life, I have together with Mr. Vincent Cheng and Dr. David Lam and concentrate on districts work. And I have also worked with Mr. Kitson Yang as well as Mr. Kingsley Wong on the 13th Street project. I have also, together with other 36 Hong Kong MPC deputies, given proposals on cancelling the health declaration code and raising the duty allowance for tourists. I would work with all of you to enhance communication, I will regularly communicate with members from different political parties and blocs. I would also reflect your views to the executive. You all have my phone numbers. Please talk to me from time to time. I will give my full dedication. Please give me an opportunity to serve the LegCo so that I can contribute to Hong Kong as we enter into the new stage of moving from stability to prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you. The platform of the two candidates have already been distributed to members, so you may refer to them. I now ask the clerk to start the question system. If you would like to ask a question, please press the Request to Speak button at the left lower corner on the left side of your desk. The record shows that so far 21 members have requested to ask questions. I'll read out the first 3 members. For the others, please refer to the screen. The first 3 are Mr. Ng Ki Chong, Mr. Kenneth Fok, and Mr. Jimmy Ng. We now start the question session. We'll hear from Mr. Ng Ki Chong. I have a question for the two candidates. We have been carrying out duty visits. In the coming term, will you enhance our work in this area? Will the President lead a delegation of LegCo members to conduct visits on the mainland or overseas? I would like to ask, do you have any destinations, any projects that you would like to focus on? After the duty visits, there will be reports. Will these reports serve to enhance Hong Kong's competitiveness and improve our governance? We need to make use of these to improve Hong Kong's situation and to help move towards stability. Mr. Ronick Chan, as I said in my speech, we need to embark on high-quality development. One of the ways is to conduct overseas and mainland visits. If I am elected, I will start these visits at the right time. But as to when and on what, as well as which industries, we have to take into account the situation and the different factors at play, given the current international situation and the tension of different regions and countries. We don't want these factors to have a negative impact on the result of our duty visits. We are enhancing our liaison with nearby countries, say for example, Belt and Road countries and ASEAN countries. We need to strengthen synergy of the visits with other executive authorities. If the executive authority would like to conduct a visit in a nearby country, we can go along, and at the same time, we can work with them in these visits. The arrangement should be pragmatic, high efficiency as well as cost effective. The itinerary should be effective and fruitful. Say for example, I have joined a duty visit with 6 roadshows per day over a period of time. It's rather intensive, so it is cost effective. As Mr. Ng said, there will be a duty visit report swiftly completed, sent to the executive authorities so that they will be fully informed and the recommendations will be fully implemented. Ms. Starry Lee, Dr. Starry Lee, enhancing connectivity is an important area of work. Actually, in the past term, there are existing mechanisms to conduct duty visits. In the last term, there were panel visits to different places. The President has led delegations to the GBA and Fujian. If I am elected President, I will talk to members to work on the itinerary and the goals. My initial thoughts is that I would like to make use of the LegCo to enhance connectivity. In the past, we have not had much exchanges with GBA and PCSC members. Perhaps we can get the support of the government to conduct a visit to GBA NPC members. On the other hand, I will also, in the name of LegCo, work to enhance liaison with mainland NPC delegates. In the past, the House Committee Chair had led delegations to some other places. I will maintain an open communication channel. I would like to make good use of our roles to enhance connectivity and to tell good stories. I think the most important point is effectiveness, and the effectiveness has to be seen by the members. I have experience and I would like to share my experience with you. Whenever there is an opportunity, I will talk to members on the destinations and the goals of the visits. Mr. Ng, anything to say in follow-up? No. Mr. Kenneth Fok. I have a question for both candidates. A follow-up question. We are concerned about impartiality of the president. Both candidates have mentioned that they are former chairman of the largest political party in Hong Kong, and the other one is a representative of G19. When it comes to impartiality in independence, one said that they would not take part in any decision making. Perhaps Mr. Chen will elaborate on the scope of what he said. Dr. Lee said she would not participate in the caucus of DAB. So it was clear that she would not take part in the caucus. But what about actual details? Because I'm not too sure about the operation of the political party. Mr. Fok, your time's up and your questions are very clear. We'll first hear from Dr. Lee. I thank the member for the question. First, we all know that over 95% of our meetings are open to the public. All chair will have to vigorously follow the rules of procedures. Members will monitor the conduct of the meetings. We all know the style of the different chairmen. I have been impartial as chair of the House Committee. I allow members to fully express themselves, and I conducted the meetings effectively. In the future, if I am elected president, I will not participate in any affairs of the DAB, because the president represents all members, and I will maintain regular communications with all members. You all have my telephone number. I will not express my personal views on public policies, because I represent the whole of LegCo. Members are there to monitor my work as well. I welcome views. I believe that members who have participated in different meetings and panels will get a feel of the style of different chairmen. I think the most important thing is to make sure that members will, in accordance with the rules of procedure, make use of the effective platform of communication in the form of LegCo. I, as president, I respect the right to express themselves of all members, so everyone will be able to speak their minds. Mr. Chen? Well, referring to not making decisions of different blocks, there is a regular meeting of G19 before the Wednesday Council meeting. On that day, we will discuss all government motions, bills, members' motions. We talked about our voting preference. We also talked about our views on individual wordings. If I am elected president, I will not participate in the pre-Wednesday Council meeting of the G19 because it's a specific platform of a certain party. In addition, I will not openly comment on any government policies. This will ensure my image as an impartial president. Regarding handling different parties, I think that it is important to conduct the meeting in an impartial way to give the impression that I am not partial to anyone. The last president, Mr. Andrew Leung, did not give the impression that he was not impartial. That's the same for the one before that, Mr. Jasper Zhang. The issues follow up by G19, if it is about policy, if it's not about finance, or if they have overrun, I will point it out. I will not have a different treatment towards G19. And that's what I did when I was the chair of the Finance Committee. I will continue this approach. This is the best way to show that I am not partial to G19. Mr. Jimmy Ng, this is the first year of the 15th five-year plan. It is a very important stage for Hong Kong to dovetail into national development. My question for the two candidates, if you are elected president, how will you, from the logical perspective, work with the government so that there will be high efficiency in integration into national development? Mr. Ronald Chan will answer first. When it comes to dovetailing Hong Kong's development into national development, this is the first year of the 15th five-year plan. We have to make sure that Hong Kong will be an effective channel for goods and services as well as capital. The LegCo will work on legal and policy levels to fully support the government. There are a number of focus of the 15th five-year plan, that is upgrading of industries, innovation and technology, as well as a number of strategic areas. The LegCo will provide a support to service of new financial products, support new policies. We will also implement dedicated task force to help mainland enterprises going overseas so that Hong Kong will become an effective platform for these mainland enterprises to go global. We have a very effective platform for financing. We'll make good use of it. We'll also work on attracting capital, work on development initiatives relating to the Northern Metropolis. We will also work on the development of the Loop Science Park. I understand that there are ideas that under the House Committee there should be a working group on dovetailing into the 15th five-year plan. The working group will focus on key areas that are of importance. I support this idea. I believe that the LegCo will fully support the SAR government on policies and initiatives. Dr. Lee, this is a very important topic. This year is crucial. On the 5th of March, there will be the two sessions. The two sessions will endorse the 15th five-year plan. Hong Kong is executive-led. With the 15th five-year plan, I believe Hong Kong will come up with concrete measures to ensure that we will actively dovetail into national development. The LegCo will support the executive arm. When there are policies, we will make good use of our existing mechanism in the form of panels and subcommittees to be set up under the House Committee. I do believe that members are actively considering setting up such a working group. In addition to existing platforms, there may be invitations sent to academics and experts from the mainland to speak on the topic. We have elites among members. We all make good use of our network, tapped into our expertise to come up with ideas to dovetail into the national strategies. In addition to existing platforms, if necessary, we can set up platforms or working groups that are cross blocks or cross political parties. We will come up with ideas for the government. In addition to that, we're expected to deliver our work. We are policy facilitators. We have to assist the execution of these policies. We have 40 members coming from the election committee sector. There are also members from the commerce and industry sectors.
Next, Mr. Vincent Chang. First, I'd like to thank the two candidates for taking up the commitment. I can tell over the years that you are both very capable. I have a question about the relationship between the executive and the legislature. All along, there have been checks and balances between the executive and the legislature through ante-chamber meetings as well as the regular meetings between the House Committee Chairman and the Chief Secretary. There have been communication between the two. I want to know, if you're elected as president, how will you facilitate the communication between the executive and the legislature? Dr. Sari Lee will take the questions first. On the 1st of January, during the oath-taking ceremony, the chief executive said that he expects the Legislative Council to work with the executive and that we can work to align with the National 15th Five-Year Plan. And the Type 05 support work will also be a major part of our duties. He wants us to be a major partner of the government. Apart from advocating policies, at the same time, he expects us to help the government implement policies. So I have shared some of my thoughts with all of you. I said that I will have the responsibility to ask the government to submit papers in time so that members have enough time to scrutinize the documents. I'll also ensure that you will be able to voice your opinions at LegCo. I believe that all members would like to contribute. I would consider setting up subcommittees as well as communication channels outside LegCo so that members, apart from expressing their views on major issues, they can also be policy facilitators as well as the bridge between the government and the public. So on the relationship between the executive and the legislature, we will work together. I know that you all have your own views. From arrangements about the gate as well as the remuneration for LegCo members, I know that you all have your views. I will study these further and express and reflect your views to the executive. Mr. Ronick Chen. On the interaction between the executive and the legislature, there are currently a few platforms, including the ante-chamber exchange sessions as well as the CE's interactive exchange Q&A sessions. So there are currently different channels for LegCo members to express their views. In future, I think there is room for improvement. First, there are certain provisions about keeping things confidential under different government bureaus. I think we may study revamping these provisions to ensure better interaction between the government and LegCo members. Second, because of the duties of government officials, they have to visit different districts to learn about the lives of people. In the future, if policies have to be made to improve people's lives, when these officials visit the different communities and districts, will they, instead of inviting individual LegCo members, invite more members to join these visits so that we can participate early? Also, on important policies that have to do with people's lives, before the relevant papers are submitted to the relevant panels, government officials would talk to members of major political parties and blocs. I suggest that in future we find a meeting room in the LegCo complex so that all members could be briefed on these policies beforehand. Perhaps the assistance of members could also take part in these meetings. I believe this would facilitate the communication between the government and the LegCo. Also, I think the political assistant of government officials as well as policy bureaus can have more communication with us. I think the political assistants in the past have been a very good communication bridge between the government and the LegCo members. Next, I will invite Mr. Lam Chun Sing to speak. Thank you. We follow an executive-led system, and the relationship between the executive and the legislature is that there are checks and balances between the two and that the two should work together. How can we strike a better balance, though? Let me give you an example. According to the rules of procedure, some members may raise urgent questions. However, if there are urgent questions every week, it may not make the questions very urgent. For issues that involve the overall interests of the public as well as matters that are of the concern of the public, I think there could be urgent questions. If there aren't any urgent questions from members, the public may be of the view that the government would not like to reply to these matters, or that the LegCo could not effectively monitor the government. I want to know how you would strike a better balance in this regard. I will ask Mr. Ronick Chen to respond first. Mr. Lam, your question during a meeting on the rules of procedure in the 6th LegCo term, we actually had a discussion. We actually made some amendments that include adjournment debate as well as urgent questions, as you mentioned. Back then, we made some rules in relation to these two matters in order for us to better make use of the meeting time. We also raised the threshold so that we could concentrate on things that are more important. I understand members' concerns. That is, from the members' perspectives, for certain urgent matters, could members raise urgent questions at the council meetings? I think we need a balance here. We could discuss this with the SAR government. For a certain member, he may be of the view that it is a matter of the public's concern, but from the SAR's government's perspectives, the government may be of the view that there are other platforms available for them to respond to the matter to the public. The government may be of the view that we do not necessarily need to make use of the LegCo to talk about that matter. So I think this has to do with the communication between the executive and the legislature. The two should work together, and we have to follow the executive-led system. Should we allow members to raise urgent questions? Well, as a member of the LegCo, I of course would like more flexibility, but at the same time we have to work to the executive to ensure effective and good arrangement to ensure that we can have good results. Dr. Starry Lee, under 16(4) and 16(2) of the rules of procedures, the rules are set out clearly. If I become the president, I would consider these rules. The consideration of the executive would not be my top priority. This is because it is a matter of the LegCo to consider whether it is an urgent matter. I'll have to consider whether there would be irreversible consequence. If the question is raised later, would the meaning be lost? I think we have to abide by certain standards, of course. I also understand that members would like to raise urgent questions if necessary, and that members would like to raise their views through LegCo. However, we'll have to follow the rules under the rules of procedure. If I could approve the urgent questions, of course, that would be great, but it would also become a precedent. So I cannot allow urgent questions for the sake of it and not consider other factors. Apart from raising urgent questions, I think there are many other ways for us to express our concern or follow up on urgent matters. I believe that Mr. Lam Chun Sing or other members would agree with me. If necessary, we could all study this together. We could perhaps conduct a site visit or invite government officials and express our views to them. The LegCo is, of course, an important platform, but we have to abide by the rules of procedure. Any decision we make would become a precedent in the future, so we have to strike a balance in this regard. Next, Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you. The 8th LegCo term would see the commencement of a new code for LegCo members. The new LegCo president will have to set up the new supervisory committee, and set up a tiered system to ensure that LegCo members can meet the standards in terms of their virtue and capability. The new LegCo president will have to be familiar with the House rules as well as the relevant procedures to ensure good internal management. The president will also have to be the leader of the LegCo so that we could focus on serving the community. How will you facilitate the cooperation and collaboration between the LegCo members and the government so that you could be impartial and fair and at the same time ensure efficiency? Dr. Starry Lee will first respond. There are two parts to Mr. Leung's question. First, on how to implement the new mechanism for supervising and monitoring new LegCo members. I believe that you are all very concerned about that. I can undertake that we will abide by the rules and the code. This is because the code was formulated in accordance with the laws. There are going to be 10 members under this committee. I will follow the collective decision. I will make sure that there is effective monitoring to show to the public that we will keep improving ourselves, and at the same time, I will ensure that members can make effective judgment. Second, on balancing the relationship between the executive and the legislature and how we can enhance the efficiency of the work of the LegCo. I don't think this will be decided by the president only. If I become the president, I will communicate with all of you to make better use of our time at the LegCo. There are members from different sectors in this council, and I understand that you all have your own community and district work. I have to consider how we can ensure that we can make good use of the time for everyone to express your views, and at the same time we can receive deputations and visit the community. If I get elected, I will study this with all of you. I will study how the LegCo could better reflect the public's views. I think the current complaint system should be improved. I think it shows that there is a need for us to revamp the existing mechanism to deal with complaints. Well, your time is up. Mr. Ronick Chan. In relation to the new code for LegCo members, we all have to abide by the code. For example, we have to uphold constitutional order, safeguard national security, and uphold executive-led system. At the same time, we have to uphold the standing of the LegCo and abide by a high standard in terms of our ethics. I think we can all abide by these rules without any problems. If members have to leave Hong Kong, they will have to notify the Secretariat in advance, and within 2 months before the end of the session, they will have to submit work report. We all have to show to the public that we can follow these rules, and this is an important part of our job. However, it is also mentioned in the code that we should not only be commentators, we should reflect the views of different sectors of the public and raise effective solutions. And this is in line with the 3 expectations raised by the Chief Executive during the oath-taking ceremony as to how we can ensure that there will be effective checks and balances between the executive and the legislature. I think LegCo members have to stay curious to all issues and topics, and that they will have the curiosity to dig into the details. How can we achieve that? I think there is room for us to improve the rules under different panels. For example, certain issues and topics are discussed every year in the same panel, such as the PSP. Well, can we save the time to discuss more important matters and issues? I think this deserves our further study. For example, for topics that are of similar nature, can we discuss them in one go under the panel? We should discuss this too. Mr. Tang Fei. both candidates mentioned in their platforms that we have to adhere to the executive-led approach and that we have to improve the interaction between the executive and the legislature. I agree. My question is that if you get elected, what would you do to promote the LegCo? I think we have to let the public, especially young people and students, understand what the LegCo does and what it means by an executive-led approach. If they have a better understanding of the LegCo and a better understanding of the executive-led system, there would be better interaction between us and the public, and that we can better reflect the public's views. And in secondary and primary schools, there is a subject called citizenship or civic education. Will you invite education groups or teachers or school principals to the LegCo and explain to them what it means by the executive-led system?
We'll first hear from Mr. Ronick Chen. Thank you for the question. Continuous improvement will enable the operation of the LegCo to better meet the needs of the public. In relation to the understanding of the education sector, I understand that a lot of the activities organized by LegCo are for schools, primary schools, secondary schools, as well as kindergartens, not so much when it comes to universities. I think our work can be deepened here. There is another area of improvement. Currently, there is a requirement that groups can only enter LegCo to take pictures when there is a member present. In addition, notice in a month in advance should be submitted. But it is rather difficult for us to know a month in advance whether we are available. Perhaps transparency can be improved. The groups, when visiting LegCo, can send a notification to members on the spot. Available members can come down to talk to these groups immediately. I do believe that this will arouse the interest of these school groups on the work of LegCo. In relation to public hearings, can they be organized in community halls instead of the LegCo complex? Discussions of panel matters, can it be conducted in locations in the community instead of the LegCo complex so that members of the public feel that the work of LegCo is closer to them than they think? I think these topics can be further explored, but they will be considered and implemented only after full discussions with members. Dr. Lee. We do need to change our publicity with the condition of the times. LegCo has done a lot of work in improving the operation. There is always room for improvement. I agree with what Mr. Tang said. The president of the last term keeps a Facebook page covering matters of the LegCo. In addition to that, do we need to consider that apart from the annual report, perhaps panel chairs can report the work of the panels to the media? Perhaps there can be more clips produced to enhance the understanding of the public of the work of the LegCo. In the last term, when I was chairman of the House Committee, in relation to the relevant commissions and committees, we have enhanced publicity. We have held press conference for panel chairs to report the work of different panels. I do believe that we can enhance the publicity of the work of the LegCo. We rely on all 90 members to further enhance the work of the LegCo. If you make use of your respective platforms and networks, I believe our work will be more effective. A major part of my work relates to students. Students and teachers. I have had an experience of my work as a delegate of the NPCSC to schools, to the city university. I do believe that we have to share with youngsters and different parties of the latest development of our country, my work as a delegate of the NPCSC, as well as a member of the LegCo. Mr. Rock Chen. This new term composes of members from different backgrounds and expertise. Some of us have more experience than others. I would like to ask both candidates, if you are elected, how do you enhance cross-block, cross-parties in terms of experience sharing and cooperation so that there will be a culture of a cooperation and sharing within LegCo? Dr. Lee. As I said in my opening remark, this is something that I've been pondering on. I have been doing my best to implement the ideas I have. Together with Ronick Chen and other members, we have been working to enhance Hong Kong's status as an international financial center. I have cited some examples. I do believe that we need more studies and initiatives that are cross-blocks. We have about 4 accountants, 11 members from the legal sector, in addition to members of different backgrounds and fields. Say, for example, a member members from the education sector. When it comes to enhancing Hong Kong's status as an international financial center, logistics hub, we need to further promote initiatives that are cross-sectoral for the government to consider. I'll also ask the research division to step up their work, because in addition to policy studies, we need to have studies that are scientific and systematic, because this will help our work when we report to the central authorities. We need your contribution. We can have more exchanges among members. We have 40 members from the ECC. We have members from the functional constituency and the geographical constituency. So studies and research, as well as activities within and across different sectors, are effective. The LegCo belongs to everyone. We need to all work together to make the best, to make sure that our work is done well. Mr. Chen, we have members from different sectors, but there are matters that are of common concern. There are 18 panels. When you join the individual panels, it means you are particularly concerned about certain matters. Say, for example, for G19 members, a member from a specific field will join the specific panel. Say, for example, someone from the banking sector will join the financial affairs panel. The best platform for cross-sectoral cooperation is among different members in a panel. When an initiative is floated, members should not think from their constituency. They should work together with other members, form network and platforms to encourage discussion and exchanges. In this way, then members are not acting in the interest of just their constituency. We are working towards common fields, say, for example, low altitude economy, new energy. If there is a policy floated, then we all work together to improve it. There is one platform in relation to the listing of China concept stocks. It's borne fruit. The government has implemented our recommendations, and work has already been put in place. Mr. Adrian Ho, I would like to ask, during supplementary questions in oral questions, sometimes members felt that they did not get a direct answer from government officials. They would like the president to get involved to ensure that they get the answer they are looking for. So I would like to ask both candidates, how will you deal with this situation to ensure that government officials will provide an effective answer? Well, there is a time set for each members when asking supplementary questions. It's only 1 minute. When you've asked your question, the relevant government officials may not be able to give you an immediate answer in detail given the time. Sometimes members ask for specific data and practice, not general policies. The official may not be able to give you an answer on the spot. That's only natural. I think it's down to the attitude of the official. Do they endeavor to answer the question, providing all information they have on hand without giving specific information that they do not yet have? I think we have to take that into consideration. In past meetings, the president will ask if there is any additional questions. If the official said, we have to go back to collect the information, if that is the case, then the reply will have to be sought through a different channel, say for example in antechamber exchange sessions or after the meeting. The member will have to ask the official for a more specific time frame in relation to the reply. Dr. Lee, I think the purpose of asking questions by members is to express their stance and ideas to the public. Under the ROP, is stated that a member can only ask one supplementary question. Each question will have to be completed in about 20 minutes or so. We expect government officials to provide direct answers, but sometimes the official might not have sufficient time to answer, or they have not made a decision yet. So outside the LegCo, communication is equally important. As I said, I will ask government officials to seek members' views at different stages and provide reports. Outside the LegCo, there is no time limit. It will be a more effective communication channels for exchanges. In addition to the briefing sessions, I'm sure members have established channels to reach out to government officials. We have a duty to ensure effective communications. Questions, motions, proposals made by members of different sectors, we would like the government to accept our views. We would like the public to know what we think. We will use different platforms to ensure that. Would you like to ask a supplementary question with the remaining time, Mr. Ho? No. Mr. Kingsley Wong. We need to break the silo mentality. The government and LegCo should work together. Among members, we all need to work together. Say, for example, redevelopment of buildings. It involves the HYAB, the Development Bureau. Other parties, say, for example, owners' corporations and property management companies are involved as well. As president, in addition to conducting meetings impartially, you also have to ensure that members are able to tap into their expertise of different fields. How do you ensure that we can all pool our efforts and expertise together? How do you ensure that there will be cooperation and communication among government departments so that they will not only work in their respective portfolio? Dr. Lee. Mr. Wong has asked a valid question. Cross-bureau cooperation within the government. From my experience as legislators, if it is a topic relating to just one bureau is easier, but if it spans over different portfolios, that will be more complicated. The government is a huge team covering different departments and bureaus. From time to time, we encounter issues that spans over a vast area. I do believe that deepening reform will be an effective way to handle these cross-sectoral issues. In addition to designating a policy bureau to be in charge, supporting bureaus and departments should fully support the work of the designated bureau. I think it's an effective way to handle it. My observation tells me that most of the topics are cross-bureau. It happens to everywhere in the world. How do we do more on the basis of innovation? I think the chief executive can do more. In relation to cross-sectoral cooperation within the LegCo, I do hope that there will be more communications and exchanges. In addition to setting up subcommittees, perhaps there can be working task forces on specific topics, say, for example, how to stop bid rigging. I'm sure that it will be effective if there are members from different fields involved in the discussion. We all work together to follow up on the issues. I do believe that under the ROP, we are empowered. We have the authority to make it happen. And we can also do more outside the council as well.
Mr. Ronald Chen, I think cross-bureau collaboration is inevitable. I think there is rarely any policy that only falls under the portfolio of one bureau. Perhaps policies in relation to education or civil servants may fall under one bureau, but for other policies, I think they cannot be decided by just one single bureau. As Dr. Sari Lee said, our work is to, as much as possible, reflect our views to the Chief Secretary. If both the Chief Secretary as well as the Deputy Chief Secretary, for some reasons, cannot bring together all relevant bureaus, I believe that the new LegCo president, if need be, will have to talk to the chief executive in order to achieve good results. I hope that the government would be willing to set up a group that involves different bureaus. Like the previous LegCo term, there was a liaison group that involves all persons in charge from different political parties. It also involves 3 conveners. I was one of the members in the group for major issues that includes, for example, redevelopment after the Taipo fire. I believe that they could not be dealt with one single block or one member from the LegCo. I believe that we could set up a cross-sectoral group or a liaison group within the LegCo who has the ability to negotiate with the government so that the government would be willing to set up a cross-bureau, cross-departmental group to work with our liaison group. I believe that this way it would be more effective and efficient, and we could respond to more members' expectations. Mr. Tommy Chong, I have a question for both candidates. Just now it was mentioned that there is a new code for LegCo members for the 8th term LegCo members, and there are high standards required of the new LegCo members, including requirements in relation to declaration of interests. Dr. Starry Lee and Mr. Ronald Chen is a Hong Kong deputy and a delegate to the MPC, and you will have to go to the mainland to take part in meetings all the time. How would you ensure that you could balance your work as an MPC member as well as a LegCo president? Mr. Ronald Chen, I thank Mr. Chung for the questions. As a Hong Kong NPC deputy, I mostly have to deal with national matters, and as a LegCo member, I focus on domestic issues. I think the two roles are interconnected. Hong Kong NPC deputies reflect our views in relation to issues that have to do with Hong Kong, and we work to ensure that Hong Kong can more efficiently integrate into the national development, and we also give proposals on policies that would benefit Hong Kong. I can share with you my own experience. In 2023, there was an amendment to the District Council Ordinance, and I was a member of the Bills Committee. And because of this, I had to stay in the LegCo to scrutinize the bill, and therefore I was absent for the meeting to Guangdong organized by the NPC. And also, in 2022, I had to take part in a training for NPC deputies, and because of that, I had to skip some of the panel meetings or even FC meetings. So I had to make compromise and strike a balance as a LegCo member. I was one of the 1,500 Hong Kong NPC deputies elected. I had to explain why I was absent for some activities and events. And as a LegCo member, I also had to tell members of the finance sector why I had to skip certain panel meetings or FC meetings. I think that I had to be mentally prepared for that if I become the president. And at the same time, I think I would have to tell clearly to both electors why I had to make certain decisions. Dr. Starry Lee, I have served the LegCo for 17 years, and I have always undertaken to prioritize my work at the LegCo. If you are familiar with my work, I am at LegCo from Monday to Friday, and at weekends you could also see that I may attend some press conferences or briefings, and I have always abided by this schedule. As for my role as a delegate to the NPCSC and my role as a LegCo member, I have thought about this seriously. President Xi Jinping reminded us that we have to more proactively align with the national strategies. I think in this era, where we have to align with the national strategies, as a delegate to the NPCSC, I think I have a role to facilitate that. Not just myself, I believe some of you are also CPC members, and the NPC every other month, that is in February, April, June, August, October, and December, we have to attend meetings. And these meetings do not clash with our schedule. I believe that 4 of the LegCo meetings may clash with that of the NPCSC. I believe that our country would understand that if there are any major issues of public concern, we should stay at the LegCo to attend the meetings, to scrutinize certain matters, or to vote. If the LegCo president is absent, I believe the deputy or the deputy chairman would be here to help chair the meeting, and this is a standing mechanism. Well, over the past 17 years, I have prioritized my work at the LegCo. Professor Priscilla Leung, according to the Basic Law, Hong Kong adheres to an executive-led system, and so both the executive and the legislature have to help implement policies. Under improved governance system, I am not too worried that there would be any problems because all rules are set out clearly in the rules of procedure. However, we understand that we are facing critical international landscape, and we experienced some major incidents in Hong Kong. There were people who broke into the LegCo complex even. So I hope both candidates would share with us on your views. In case there are emergencies that requires your instantaneous judgment, how would you lead the LegCo to work with the government so that we could cope with these potential major crises? Dr. Starry Lee. Well, this is a valid question from Professor Leung. This is because there have been very complex international issues and situations, and there have been conflicts among different countries. Our country has already entered into a stage where we see Chinese-style modernization, and China is taking off in this regard. Hong Kong, as part of the country, although we have already moved from stability to prosperity, we cannot disregard any potential national security issues. As in Hong Kong SAR, which is an important part of the country, on national security issues, we have to stand with our country and work with our country to implement any national security policies or measures. The future president will have to take up the commitment, especially in times where there are national security issues or crises. We will have to work together with our country to implement the relevant policies. I have experienced the most chaotic time at the LegCo. I cannot guarantee that there will always be peace at the LegCo, while we already have Article 23 legislated and we have the national security law. The chief executive has reminded us that there are still potential risks and danger and that there might be passive resistance. I believe that with my experience, if in face of any urgent issues or changes, I would be able to cope with these, and that I will ensure the LegCo would be a bridgehead for Hong Kong in safeguarding national security. Mr. Ronick Chen. In the 6th term LegCo, every other few days we talked about or experienced emergency issues. The LegCo president, what matters the most is that we have to work with the Secretariat and the legal advisor to come up with solutions. I was the deputy chair of the Finance Committee, and we had to call meetings to make certain decisions. We had to talk to government officials on whether we had the right to stop the filibustering. We had to make an immediate judgment and decision. On the 11th of May 2019, there was an election for House Committee Chairman, and there was chaos in the meeting room. On the 12th of June, the anti-government LegCo members, as well as those who engage in blacklight violence, broke into the LegCo complex. I, together with Mr. Gary Chan, were there, and we had to cope with the emergency. And I, together with the LegCo Secretariat, studied how we could ensure the safety of all LegCo staff, including our assistants. We talked about how we can evacuate all the people and staff at the LegCo complex. And we had to make a judgment on the spot. And once we got all the information, we had to make a decision as early as possible to help everybody deal with the danger. And with my experience at the 6th term LegCo in coping with emergency issues like these, I believe that in case we face any issues concerning our safety in the future, I'm confident that I would be able to cope with it with all members. Mr. Michael Lee. In order for the public to better understand the government's policies and in order for the public to better understand our views, many members told me that they would set up district offices. However, currently the cost is adjusted based on the CPC, but it could not catch up with the increase of inflation of 3.3% or the income increase of 2.5%. Do you have any ways to improve the situation? apart from making use of premises managed by the housing department, could we make use of vacant premises or even vacant stalls in public markets? Mr. Ronald Chen.
係用甲
In relation to expenditure, whether it should be following the CPI A or C, in the last term, relevant commission has already made a decision that it should not be, the CPI C should not be used. It should be a weighted index. The recommendation has been submitted to the government. The government supports the recommendation of the LegCo. However, when the recommendation reaches the chief executive is of the view that given the current financial situation, it may not be a good time to implement it in the 8th term. I think there is a premise that public finances should be in a position to allow the amendment. The financial secretary has already forewarned that given the change in situation in the stock market and sales of land, there has been an increase, a spike in the revenue from a stamp duty. If within a year or two the finances improve, then we can ask the executive to replace a weighted index with the CPIC. The member also mentioned about renting premises for their ward offices. There is currently a high vacancy rate of premises. Are there other ways for us to rent these premises at a more affordable price so that the premises can be used as ward office? It will benefit different parties because instead of being vacant, the premise will be used as a ward office, attracting footfall. Perhaps sometimes some commercial entities may be willing to let members use the premises free of charge. Dr. Lee. I thank the member for the question. It is a very challenging matter for all members. That applies to my ward office as well. Members will encounter difficulties when it comes to running ward offices. I do feel for them. For 2 months, the LegCo remuneration has not, or allowances have not been adjusted. We have an established mechanism in the relevant commission. We will conduct research. Given the current established mechanism, how can we reach out better to the public? There are 20 members from the geographical constituency. There are also members who have already got used to the existing communication channels. When it comes to new members, well, I think that it's worth considering premises under the housing authority. Well, my constituency is Central Kowloon. I have encountered a lot of difficulties in this regard. I have raised this issue with the Home Affairs Department. There is currently a program to meet members of the public. Can they work with members to create synergy? There is a high vacancy rate in stores in public markets. If necessary, can members make use of these empty stores to serve the public? We have district care teams. Can there be cooperation with these teams? I think these are topics that is worth exploring further into. Mr. Nick Chen. The law should move ahead with the times and should not impede technology development. For the two candidates, when it comes to using technology to enhance, when it comes to democratizing technology and innovating technology, what are their views? Should the member clarify what is scientific legislation or scientific legislation? What specifically are you referring to? I'm sure the two candidates is well aware of that. Maybe you should clarify. Scientific legislation is a direction set by the country. Well, legislation should be scientific. That means that there should not be duplication and redundant efforts. The views of the public should be sought, and the views of the public should be reflected in the legislation. Democratic legislation, scientific legislation, as Mr. Chen said, is an important principle of the country. The LegCo is the legislature of Hong Kong. I support a scientific legislation. We use a scientific approach to ensure that the justifications for legislation is supported by evidence. As I said, there are 11 members from the legal sector. I understand that there are many exchanges between the legal sector between Hong Kong and that of the mainland. How do we enable practitioners in Hong Kong to have a better understanding of the operations and rules of legal sectors on the mainland? Perhaps we can explore different ways to ensure that maybe it can be under the purview of the AJLSP. I believe that this term has the largest number of members from the legal sector. I stand to be corrected. Mr. Ronick Chen. If we are to continue to develop our economy and improve people's lives, it is important to have scientific legislation. The Law Reform Commission set priorities on two areas. First, economic urgency. Say, for example, legislation relating to finance, laws relating to intellectual property. I think that is important. The other consideration is the impact on the people. That covers privacy ordinance, consumer rights. I think that we should be aware of these two areas. When it comes to scientific legislation, I think the priority should be addressing laws that stifle new industries, say for example low altitude economy and autonomous driving. If we in Hong Kong can move faster, we will be able to surpass many mainland cities. We can also formulate roadmaps, setting out milestones for updating legislation. That will be aligned with the principle of scientific legislation. After we have passed the bill, we should also track the effectiveness of the implementation. We can ask for reports from the government so that we can assess whether the implementation of the ordinance passed meet our goal. I think these are important indicators. Mr. Yu Ming. The two candidates talked about being fair, impartial. Both members have been chair of the FC and the HC. I would like to ask, how does your experience help you be a better president? We have members from different constituencies and sectors. They have different views. How do you bring us together so that we can more effectively carry out the work of the LegCo? The LegCo doesn't just represent a certain quota of society. We serve the public. How will you unite all members to carry out our work? Mr. Chen. Members whether they are members of panels, finance committees, house committees, perform their duties in accordance with the rules of procedure. An important part is effective communication. Members represent the constituencies and their sectors. They bring the views of their respective sectors and constituencies into LegCo. Forging consensus is important. How do we ensure that members do not just focus on the individual interests? I think it's down to communications. We have established platforms. One is the LegCo Commission with members from different sectors and different groups. How do we enhance the representativeness of the LegCo Commission? We can work on that. The other one is the coordination group. The coordination groups cover representatives of the three sectors as well as different blocks. Mr. Peter Shiu calls me a team leader. But whatever role you have, we need to make use of your network to enhance communications. We have to ensure that we don't work just for a specific field. We need to work on forging consensus. We need to work on matters close to the heart of the public. We need to work on to get these issues resolved. Dr. Lee. Members make use of different meetings to express their views and speak for the public. If I am elected president, I will conduct meetings in accordance with the rules of procedure to ensure that members will have the chance to speak. I respect the views of members. In addition, I look forward to meeting regularly with chairmen of panels. I also expect chairmen to work from the same standard. I want to ensure that different panels, HCFCs, will adopt the same standard and to ensure that members are able to speak. There are three major sectors in LegCo. Sometimes a consensus may not be forged because the different sectors, different constituencies have different views. We respect differences. We respect different views. We can make use of the mechanism of voting to decide on certain matters. The coordination group as well as the LegCo Commission. Well, the latter is in charge of the hardware of the LegCo. Are there mechanisms to make use of the working group and the LegCo Commission to better reflect members' views? How do we ensure that the views of panels and different meetings are forwarded to the government for their consideration? I think we can explore into it. We have bills, committees, FCs, HCs, panels. All these are channels for members to express their views. Mr. Perry Yu, I have a question. Whoever is elected, I hope that the president-elect will get the gate between LegCo and the central government office to be opened so that it will be easier for us to have exchanges. This term, we see more independent members than the last. There are views saying that independent members should be given more opportunities to express their views. Perhaps a representative or two of a major blocks are sent to briefing sessions to give more opportunities to the independent ones. At the same time, there are views saying that this is not fair. So how do you strike a balance? Your time's up, Mr. Yu. Dr. Lee. I have heard members' views. I do believe that today's special forum is of concern to the Electoral Commission. I will, in my capacity, whatever it is, to forward members' views in relation to the gate. I understand that there are security considerations, but I do believe that given the new situation, they will carefully consider our suggestion, our request. We are members. We have to act in accordance with the rules of procedure. We have to ensure that all 90 members have a chance to speak. And as to whether there can be coordinations done, well, actually, that has already been done. I do believe that independent members would like to ensure that they have a chance to speak because there is no one else that can represent them. On the other hand, political parties may send representatives to speak for the party. But sometimes individual members within the party may have stronger views than others. We will try to do our best to coordinate. Time is limited. Every members have to serve their constituents. We have to work together to make good use of the time we have. I would also like to ensure that members will have time to reach out to their constituents.
安排呢
Mr. Ronald Chen, in relation to the issue about the gate, G19 last legislative term got the support from Mr. Chen Kin-po, and he talked to the government about it. I think after our communication with the Chief Secretary, after Mr. Perry Yu raised the concern, the CE office promised that they would follow up on the matter. I believe, as Dr. Starry Lee said, the government has been listening to this special forum, and I believe if they fail to follow up, they would look very embarrassed. As mentioned in my platform, I will staunchly uphold the rights of each member in relation to their right to speak. I think what matters is that you need to press the button very quickly. For members' motion, I think only about 40 members could speak given the time limit. Well, I had told some members about the skill to press the button quickly for the newly elected members. If you would like, I am happy to share with you the skills. Also, I think certain political parties and blocs have the need to train up their members. And I think as the electoral president, should not interfere. The president should leave it to the relevant blocs or political parties to make a decision. Basically, under the rules of procedures where time permits, and if you want to speak, we will have to give you the chance to speak without any limit. Ms. Jovi Chen. Thank you, Mr. Ronald Chen, for being so generous about sharing the skill with us. I think members have the mission to improve people's lives, and at the same time, we have to proactively contribute to our country. Last year, I had the chance in the capacity as a electoral member to speak at the United Nations. I think we have to dovetail with the National 15th Five-Year Plan, and each of us in our own position could help tell good stories of Hong Kong to the world. For example, business chambers, associations could do so, and we have a liaison group. And in the last term, Mr. Andrew Leung led us to different visits, and as mentioned by both candidates, they promised that if they become the electoral president, they would lead us to different visits. How could you ensure that we can cooperate with the international world so that we can leverage our strength and improve connectivity with the world and the mainland? Mr. Ronald Chen, In terms of organizing duty visits, as mentioned, I think we have to have the right timing and we have to identify the right destination to achieve the best result. I think first of all, we have to ensure that we can do a good job in receiving international deputations. Like Dr. Starry Lee said, well, I very much agree with her. I think we have to make use of our own advantages. Hong Kong is a melting pot of Chinese and Western culture. There's free flow of information, and you yourselves can set up or open social media accounts and take part in, for example, large-scale international conferences to spread our achievements. For example, we are first in the world in terms of IPO fundraising, and we can tell the international world about our international rankings. As to whether we can only achieve this through duty visits, I believe that each member has his own influence. And we are here to bring together all LegCo members in order to raise the awareness of certain issues. I think we cannot simply rely on one single bloc or political party, but I believe that individual or independent members may conduct these visits themselves, and they may even be able to do a better job compared to the liaison group we have. I think we should actively lead professionals as well as young people to attend international exchange activities. And through these professional groups and youth groups, we should enhance interaction with the international world. I think this is one way to tell good stories of Hong Kong to the world. Dr. Starry Lee? Well, thank you for your question. I noticed that in terms of telling good stories of Hong Kong, many members have already been doing this. My concern is how can the LegCo better support members to tell good stories of Hong Kong. For example, we could provide timely information because you will need a lot of information to respond to any smearing campaigns or to tell good stories of Hong Kong. At the same time, we have to maintain good communication with the SAR government because the government would like LegCo members to do a better role, to play a better role in this regard. And that the government would want us to have enough information to tell good stories. And Hong Kong is a highly open city, and over the past, we have been meeting with the CG. There was an annual meeting. I wonder if there could be smaller scale CG meetings so that more members could join these meetings. For foreign press, if they would like LegCo members to respond to certain matters, will the LegCo be able to provide better support so that those members who are better at responding to the press could do so? I think this is one thing that we could study together. I hope that in the coming term, more members will be proactive to tell good stories of Hong Kong and good stories of China, especially by attending interviews from foreign press. I think we should at the same time allow mainland cities to learn about the latest situation of Hong Kong so that we can do better in terms of attracting businesses and capital. Time is up. Mr. Andrew Lam. People's impression of the LegCo often come from members' speeches as well as government officials' response. I am very worried that members of the public would become indifferent to the LegCo deliberation. In the past, we spent most of the time on questions and members' motions. I want to learn about your views about how to improve the quality of members' motions, members' questions, and officials' reply, and what are your expectations, and what are the ways to improve them. Dr. Starry Lee? As mentioned, I think members have to do their job well, and the government will have to cooperate with us. That includes the government's provision of documents in a timely manner so that there will be enough time for members to scrutinize the documents. In terms of council meetings, I understand Mr. Andrew Lam's concerns about questions and members' motions. Because of time limit, government officials may not be able to reply immediately to certain questions. If you are of the view that certain government officials are slacking, perhaps you can remind them of that. But I am sure that government officials would not deliberately slack on their work because they all want to communicate with electoral members to make sure that we can ensure a good debate at the LegCo. And on the question about members' motions, I believe we can consult members further on this. I noticed that there are many repeated members' motions that are not intended to have legislative effect, and media have been reporting about this. I think for newly elected members, LegCo is a very important platform for them to express their views. As to how we can better make use of our council meeting and the time, I think we need to reach a consensus. I hope that members could all express their views clearly to the government. However, sometimes members' motions could be repetitive, and I have received comments about this on different occasions from members. I think in terms of how we can strike a balance in this regard, I think we need to pick the brains of all of you. Mr. Ronick Chen, I understand members' concerns. For oral questions, I think that's mostly your concern. For written questions, members of the public can always read those questions on our website. If the oral questions or written questions are highly repetitive, members of the public would not pay so much attention to our discussions. I think this is not a question that can easily be addressed or solved. First of all, different members have different concerns. We cannot simply look at the title of the questions raised by members to judge whether they are repetitive. There are certain issues such as housing issues, housing supply, healthcare, labor issues, education, and social welfare are of high concern of different members. If they are repetitive, I think the Secretariat has the responsibility to check the content of these questions. If they are repetitive, I think the Secretariat could remind members to raise the question from another angle or perspective instead. We could echo the public's concern instead of raising the question from a single perspective. I think the Secretariat, however, should not intervene too much. If the LegCo president noticed that there are highly repetitive motions raised by members, I think the president should communicate with the members concerned to strike a good balance. If the same issues are discussed every week or every month, with the wording being very similar to each other, I think that would make citizens or members of the public pay less attention to our discussions. I think this should be a two-way communication. Mr. Albert Chuang, Dr. Sterry Lee is a GC member, and Mr. Ronick Chen is a Finance FC member. According to usual practice, LegCo president would not raise any questions or members' motions, would not vote on members, and would not join any subcommittees or panels. That means we will have one representative less at LegCo. So how can you ensure that the electors who support you, their voices will not be neglected if you are elected? Mr. Ronick Chen, first of all, as a representative of the finance sector, I think it's important that I can achieve two goals. First, to bring the voices of the sector to the LegCo. Second, to brief the sector about the decisions made by the LegCo. So how can I achieve the first goal? I noticed that 5 out of the 90 members for this term have background from the banking industry, I believe that they would voice their opinions in the FAP, Financial Affairs Panel. If the banking industry have any concerns, I believe they will listen to, the members with the relevant background will listen to the sector's view. Every year, for once or twice, I visit the HKMA, and together with the HKMA and the banking industry members talk to each other. So even if I cannot make use of this platform to reflect my own views, I would carry on with this habit. And also every year, I brief members from the sector about major bills. For example, after the legislation of Article 23 and after the enactment of the stablecoin bill, I talked to the members of the relevant sectors. And this has nothing to do with whether I took part in the policy deliberation, because the relevant bills had already been passed. I was just sharing with them about the details. So even with me being elected as the president, I will still ensure that the two-way communication will be carried on.
Dr. Lee, whichever sector or constituency the member comes from, they are accountable to the whole of Hong Kong. I know that members of the public are concerned about different topics, and they are the topics of concern of members. I am from Central Kowloon. We are concerned about planning as well as the waterfront promenade. The voice of the public can also be reflected through different channels, including that of members. I will reach out to members of the public to listen to their views. If necessary, I will follow up on cases. LegCo is only one platform. Outside the LegCo, we also talk to government officials and different parties. We will continue that work. There are issues of concern, common concern, say for example redevelopment of specific locations and different topics. I'm sure that we will make full use of the different communications channels. The most important thing is that members, regardless of where they from or who they represent, they will be able to deliver their work and address the issues of members. Anything to follow up? No. Next, Ms. Julia Lau. I have a question for both candidates. When it comes to major infrastructural projects, huge capital is involved. However, information is scanty. There is a low transparency. How do you enhance the transparency? How do you ensure that the information and data is available in its complete form to members so that they can make an informed decision and make an informed assessment? Apart from information transparency, when it comes to major projects, how do you ensure that public funds are properly used? Ms. Lau, you have asked two questions. I'll invite the candidates to choose one to answer. Dr. Lee. To ensure that there is sufficient information for members to scrutinize bills and policy matters is important. I will endeavor to ensure that the government provides sufficient information for the performance of duties by members. But as to whether the information sought by members could be disclosed openly, I think we need to further consider that. I understand that the public or members would like to get as much information as possible, but some information is confidential. In the past, the government will disclose the information under a confidential cover. Not everything can be disclosed to the public. When it comes to transparency, I do believe that the SAR government will do their best within limits. When it comes to individual cases, we will have to handle it individually. The information can be circulated or passed on. If the information is confidential, perhaps it can be disclosed under a confidential cover. Mr. Chen, I think that is an issue that is encountered by the FC a lot. The government in the main paper will provide primary information. I do support the idea that transparency should be enhanced. During the meeting, government officials have the information that they can readily disclose. I often asked government officials why they did not include such information in the main paper in the first place. I do understand that for government officials, they would disclose primary information unless they are asked a specific information. I recall on more than one occasion I asked government officials why they did not include the information in the main paper so members could have a better basis for deliberation. However, as Starry said, some information or data is classified. Giving the information to members is one way. Well, in the EA panel, when it comes to information of the two power companies, some can only be read by members under a confidential cover. I do believe that when it comes to government information, the situation is different. Information held by a commercial entity may not be disclosed, but is different for government. I will, by discretion, allow one or two more members to ask questions. But that depends on the length of Ms. Grace Chan's question. Ms. Chan. The Council attaches importance to the relationship between the executive and the legislature. If you are elected, how do you ensure that the accountable officials will have effective communications with members so that on different policy issues there will be sufficient opportunities for members to exchange views with government officials? I think it is a topic that is of concern to a number of members. How do we ensure that secretaries, undersecretaries, or policy bureaus in charge will give you the information? I think it depends sometimes on whether you initiate contact. I mentioned about political assistants of policy bureaus. They play this important role. Ms. Judy Chen, Ms. Rebecca Chen was a political assistant. Every other week, you would see political assistants in the LegCo. If you encounter the political assistants of the bureau of a topic that you are concerned with, you may approach them. Political assistants have the duty to give you their contact. You'll be given the means of contact during the first meeting by political assistants. I think the first point of contact is the political assistant. The best chance to see secretaries or undersecretaries is the antechamber. When they are preparing for the answer of the questions, they will be in the antechamber. It will be a good opportunity for members to contact them. We can make use of these chances, these platforms, to enhance communications and exchanges. Dr. Lee, I will answer on two levels. First, policies and bills submitted by the government. The government has the duty to ensure that there is sufficient briefing, information paper, and time for members to read the information. I believe that the President can act as a coordinator. When it comes to important policies, I expect the government to give us regular reports and to listen to members. I recall that in a meeting with the Chief Secretary, a number of members have raised this point. If that is done, then the government will have a better understanding of the views of members at different stages. When it comes to other issues, I agree with Ronick. Political assistants are a very effective point of contact. Secretaries and undersecretaries may be tied up more often than not. If you would like to contact a certain political assistant, we will help. That is the first point of contact with policy bureaus. You can make use of the time in and outside LegCo. You can make use of the antechamber exchange sessions and the luncheon held every Friday. We invite government officials to attend our luncheon. That is a good chance for you to talk to government officials. We do understand that government officials are very busy. You may not be able to reach them by phone. I think members are learning about the different ways to find a chance to meet government officials. I do think that the government fully understand that we all attach importance to the healthy interaction between the executive and the legislature. I think time's almost up. We have been conducting this meeting for almost 2 hours. There is not enough time to allow another member to ask the question. Today, 21 members have asked questions to the two candidates. I announce that the forum is finished. Members, we now have a break of 10 minutes. The election of the president will be held at 11:37. Please make sure that you attend on time.